Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Let's just talk a little about this AmFest 2025. Huge event.
Yeah.
Am I right? Did I hear you're sold out already?
We've been sold out for weeks. I mean, as soon as Charlie was murdered, we kind of went into obviously shell shock, trauma mode. What's up? What's down? What comes next? So you're getting through each day. And, then we had the memorial. And then at some point, I forget when in the midst of that, we looked at, somebody had the presence of mind to look at ticket sales at AmFest, and like everybody's jaw dropped. It was such an outpouring of love and support for Charlie and for the organization and for Erica that, we realized, hey, we have a capacity issue. So we had to work with the venue. Instantly, we kind of realized, hey, we got to turn the ticketing off, which we've never had to do before. We had 21,000 last year on the final day for Trump after the big election win. And I remember looking around the team saying, we'll never be able to beat this, or maybe we will. And maybe I'm being, I'm just doubting Thomas over here, and, leave it to Charlie Kirk to find a way to.
What kind of numbers do you think?
Bigger than that.
Bigger than that. Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Welcome back to Truth Thursday. The Rob Maness Show's live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, America Fest 2025. What's it all about? Well, it's Charlie Kirk's movement takes on the future. There you are, folks. The biggest conservative event of the year is here, and we have supporters on the ground in Arizona bringing coverage of America Fest 2025 right here to the show today. This is going to be the first major Turning Point USA event since the tragic assassination of Charlie, and emotions are running high. I was honored to speak at AmFest 2024 as we celebrated President Trump's massive victory and look toward getting his administration underway. Unfortunately, I can't be there this year due to family commitments for Christmas, but I'm just as excited about the fact that the strategy that all of us will be part of to win in 2026 and beyond is starting to be unveiled. This is where it happens. Charlie's movement has more momentum now than ever before, as you just heard. The young men and women of America are leading the charge. They have stepped up to take the standard to our next victory. And we want to bring you a bit of that excitement from Phoenix. That's why my guest today is Margaret Akes from North Carolina, and she is our woman on the ground there. She's a former state GOP district secretary and host of Assemblex North Carolina podcast, known simply as Margot. If you hear, quote, Margot said, unquote, in political circles, and everyone knows who's dropping truth bombs. She's a fearless grassroots powerhouse from Western North Carolina, which is where my Maness family is from, by the way. When a county superintendent tried turning on active school into housing for illegals, Margot rallied the posse, shut it down cold, and got him fired. Hoorah. She also stepped up big during Hurricane Elena, coordinating delivery of over 200 Starlinks for relief efforts with sharp takes on X. You can follow her at Margot in WNC. And viral on TikTok, Margot in NC. And co-hosting the twice weekly NC Political Tea podcast, Margot fearlessly roasts Republicans and Democrats alike while driving real change. That's one of the things I like about her. She doesn't care whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. She tells the truth. Like things like local tax clawbacks, unified background checks, and championing the pending Cyber Protection Act, which beefs up cyber stalking laws by explicitly targeting doxing criminals and swatting criminals because the current laws fall short against modern online threats. Margot, welcome to the Rob Maness Show from Phoenix.
Yes, live from Phoenix. I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not at the actual event. I left and came back just for you because they just don't have good internet over there right now, and I didn't want to do it on a mobile phone. But
Yeah.
Colonel Maness, you would be so proud of what we could see here. First of all, I've never seen this many young people ever. All the way from I'm staying in a hotel just slightly off Prim, and from the block, 1 block away, they have young people out on the street talking about where to go to get to each event and how to get in. I've never seen this much security. They literally block the street off. Normally, they block the street off on Sunday when Trump or J.D. Vance or someone comes in. It's completely blocked. You can't go through. Normally, in the past, you could go from some of the hotels through the middle of a convention center building in front where the parking is and straight into the convention center. You cannot do that this year. So the security is super tight. And one thing I thought that you would be interested in is, especially with your opening monologue, they gave me the quote. I went to the press office just for you, Colonel Maness. They said
good.
there's 35,500 people here. And on top of that, there's 400 news outlets. And they don't even know how many vendors right now because there's still vendors coming in that last minute said they couldn't, but now are making it. So some highlights, though. I've never seen the Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life Foundation here, which I love seeing. I've never seen Give, Send, Go here, and they actually have a booth. So Give, Send, Go actually has a booth here. And Heather, the owner or co-owner of Give, Send, Go, is actually she's actually running the booth. So there's a lot going on here. And I think one thing that you would love is literally from the second you walk in the building over there, Colonel Maness, until you walk out, there are murals of Charlie Kirk everywhere where you can stop and take a picture or be reminded of what he's done. And it's just a beautiful tribute.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I know you've been talking to just, regular folks that come to these. And I think it's important. I'm glad you mentioned the young people. Folks, these events are planned, organized, and operationally executed by people that are usually not more than 20 years old, and a lot of them are under 20 years old. Isn't that right, Margo?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've seen that's so fantastic here is the number of people that show up at the TPE USA chapter booth right now who want to start chapters in their high school, their college. They're taking pictures with them where it says, I opened up a chapter, and literally the line was so long, I couldn't stop and, hang out with them. And normally I go over there and hang out with those guys, but they're so busy, you can't.
That's amazing. I mean, that's also wonderful news, because now at this event is where you're going to see the factual reality in being of what folks from Turning Point and the Charlie Kirk Show, like Andrew and Blake and Tyler Bauer, have been talking about with all of these requests for new chapters. That's the biggest real-time factual indicator, what you just said there.
Well, and what's really interesting is you'll see all kinds of people. You'll see, influencers, you'll see parents with kids, you'll see grandparents with children. The people in front of us were from Japan. They came from Japan with their young children. So it's very diverse. And I think the most important thing I see is, and this is why I come every year, this is my 6th year, it's intergenerational. If we cannot start to have the conversations that get away from they're a boomer or this or that, and help each other win, we'll never win. And so when I was checking in today, there was a young couple with their son. I think he's probably I would say he's a high schooler, and he's a podcaster, and he's from North Carolina, because of course, I have to talk to him because he's from North Carolina. And I said to him, listen, can I help you in any way? And he said, no, I think I'm good. I said, well, you can help me. And that's the other thing. You can't be afraid to say, I need your help. And so I said, I would like to have you help me put all 100 ballots up for all the races in North Carolina. And it was immediate enthusiasm, because sometimes you don't know how to tell them what you need, but at the same time, they don't know you need them, and they need you.
Yeah, that's that's one of the strange things about human beings these days is I think the pandemic and the whole internet thing, social media thing, has driven a lot of folks into their phones more than being able to have a conversation with people. And one of the things that I thought was amazing, I went to the Detroit event last year, and then I was at the AmFest event. And the amazing thing that I thought was cool was this event brings so many people from across generations together in the same rooms, not just in the audiences at the main stage, but in the same rooms, walking around the media row, meeting not just with influencers, but you can just walking down the hall, walk up and talk to somebody most of the time if you get a chance to see them. But just the regular people coming together and talking face to face and chatting about things that they may be going to or what they saw or what they heard. That's one of the things that makes AmFest and Charlie's movement very, very powerful, isn't it?
It is. I think that, and the fact that it's not just based on patriotism, it's truly a movement of faith and concern and caring for each other. And you can see that, when you walk around, you can feel it, but you also see it even in the vendors. When you start seeing, all these different universities, I don't think people realize how many faith-based universities there are out there that really don't advertise. But if you come here, you will see them. And other businesses that are truly geared toward America first, geared toward faith, and that coming together means a lot. It also gives people who may be isolated and don't have that around them all the time a common place to go and find friends. And that's a beautiful thing about this thing. I've been here, 6 years? Every time I come, I meet the same people from California, and we have breakfast together. And I met them here.
So what is so you've talked to a few people, some people I'm sure a lot of people you don't know that are maybe even new to this. What's the mood? Yeah. What's the mood like with this particular AmFest?
I mean, I would say it's enthusiastic, but you can feel a little bit of the softness. Like it's not crazy like it has been in the past where, people just run around. It's very tempered. That's a good word for it. It's enthusiastic with temperament, tempered around it. But you can tell that it's brought so many people who never thought they'd come. They just said, forget it, I'm going. I must be there. And they all stop when you come down the stairs to the escalator. They all stop at the mural in the corner that says, I am Charlie Kirk. You can tell who the new people are because they want to be seen around all of the things that we who've come here a lot are used to seeing, even though they're different. Like we've never seen I am Charlie Kirk before, but we've always seen an American flag or Abe Lincoln or 77.6, but they all want to be seen in these areas. And that's really important. It's important. And here's the other thing. If you're here and you've been here before, the most important thing you can do is be enthusiastic for them. Enjoy them being happy and being there because it's a different experience and they don't know what they're in for.
Yeah, I think that's one of the opportunities that we have as Americans is that you have 14,000 more people there this year than that were there on the Sunday, that Donald Trump spoke last year. There were 21,000 people, according to what Andrew was talking about this morning on the Charlie Kirk Show. On that day. So there are 14,000 more Americans and people from around the world there that are there for the first time, probably. And
I would say you're right.
Yeah, and embracing them and being enthusiastic for them, for the old hands. I don't mean to use old as a pejorative, but the experienced folks is critically important. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, we got to take a break, Margot. When we come back, we'll see a little clip from Steve Deace talking about faith, AmFest, and I think that's important for us to discuss in this show, which is my equivalent of my Christmas show because we'll be off next week. This is the last live show of this week. We wanted to do it at AmFest. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, so Margot has agreed to be our guest and our person on the ground there so that we could not only get the word out and talk about what's going on there, but celebrate Charlie Kirk and America here on this Christmas special from the Rob Maness Show. I'll see you in just a moment.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
The number one thing I hope that we get out of this weekend is I've just never experienced the kind of unity and seeds of revival like we had at Charlie's Memorial and the immediate thereafter. And I am just hoping and praying in advance of this event that what this does is recaptures that. Going into the holidays, and then we come out of the new year with that kind of focus and drive and purpose and shared missiology and momentum again. And so everything, you guys are keeping me busy this week, so everything that I'm going to be a part of here at the Convention Center in Phoenix is going to be about reinforcing that message, which is kind of weird for me. I mean, for much of my career, I've kind of been the disruptor insurgent guy, but Charlie convinced me in the last year plus that if we don't keep this coalition together, we're doomed.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show, and it's Thursday, which means it's the day for the truth. Every day at the Rob Maness Show is the day for the truth and the facts, but we named Thursday Truth Thursday with a purpose. And this Thursday before Christmas, we are talking about AmFest 2025, remembering Charlie Kirk, and our friend Margot from Western North Carolina is our guest today. She's out there in Phoenix. And Margot, I think what the last thing Steve said there when talking about faith is what Charlie said, and we all knew this once Trump won, was if we don't keep this coalition together, we're dead in the water. We've got to keep this coalition together, no matter how much disagreements we have. And faith, I think, is a big part of that. I mean, TPU at Turning Point USA has a whole faith part of its organization. What are you hearing, if anything, about that, Eric?
Well, so I'm very thrilled to say that my dear friend, who you know on maybe X as Rev Truth, John Amanchuka, will be the opening faith pastor to say the prayer this evening. And there is a faith-based service also this evening. So Graham Allen will be there, Ali Stuckey will be there. They'll have a concert with Nate Smith. So they're starting on a faith footing. The beginning is, I think tonight is Ben Shapiro is going to be there. Tucker Carlson's going to be there. So there are some good lineups. Erica Kirk, of course. But they're going to end tonight with a faith-based concert and making sure that people see that this is all about your relationship with Jesus Christ and how we can move him forward in our society, because there is a great awakening, and it is important that we really embrace that and help others see it. And that's probably what I would tell you first. I will say, I think every day has a pastoral breakdown or sit down, and I think that's as important as talking about politics or current issues.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've said it before, and I'll say it again here, that I think Charlie Kirk was probably the best witness for the gospel of Jesus Christ that I have actually seen in my lifetime. And Billy Graham was alive in my lifetime, and his son Franklin is alive with his organization and everything, Samaritan's Person. Those are just to name a few of the big Christian pastors that have been out there. But Charlie, the reason why I say that is what you just mentioned, that the faith and the political aspects of American society began as one, quite frankly. And we have gotten away from that, in the 20th century and the early 21st century. And Charlie was actually in the middle of, he was doing it. He was bringing those two things back together, something that I've called for, a return to the old Black Robe Regiment, which were the preachers that took their robes off and fought in the Continental Army. But they were the communications channels. The early social media is who those Black Robe Regiment preachers were that fought in the Continental Army. Before they fought, they were preaching from the pulpit about the issues of the day. Tyranny from British troops trying to take your firearms and those kinds of things, and to suppress your freedom of speech and thought, and harboring, making you quarter soldiers in your home without a choice, and those kind of things. So Charlie was bringing that back together, and I think he was doing it in such a marvelous way that a lot of people couldn't even tell.
Oh, I think he wove it together in kindness and in good spirit. And I think that may be one of the things the left just couldn't understand. How could he come to our campus and still be nice and cordial and speak the word of Jesus Christ and still talk about politics? It was such a dichotomy that they couldn't wrap their heads around, that here's where we are. I mean that, because that is the biggest threat to the left that you could ever have. And I don't think people realize how impactful his death was to young people in this country. I honestly say that with my whole heart, especially being here this year, because in the past I've seen young people. It's been a little bit of young, a little bit of old. It is solid young people here. Very few adults. Definitely not my age. But this is full grown. I've never seen every university represented. I just talked to some young ladies from the University of Arkansas. Of course, we had some people from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. Mm-hmm. And I met some folks from the University of Mississippi, Colonel Rob.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And that's as it should be. I mean, at the Ole Miss event that Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance spoke at, my wife and I were able to go to that. There were 13,000 students from Ole Miss in the room. 13,000. And there were only a couple thousand of us old people in the whole thing, the whole show. So that is extremely important for people to understand it. This is a movement that I meant what I said in my opening, that this movement of young men and women has picked up the standard, the flag that Charlie was waving, and they're carrying it forward, aren't they?
Yeah, and I have to say this as a person in a different generation. I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s when Reagan was, he was the first president I ever voted for. Even with Reagan, we were not this burning in desire to get out there and do it. Like, we wanted change. Mm-hmm. We hated Carter, right? And we were all for, changing things, but it's nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, when I ran for office the first time, starting in mid 2013, that's when I met Charlie Kirk, and because I was looking for somebody young on the conservative movement, Republican side, that was actually talking to college students. I mean, I'd come out of the Air Force as a commander, and most of the people that I talked to every day were under the age of 25 that were in my organization. So I was used to talking and to young folks and convincing them to do what I needed them to get done, And but the Republican corporate culture of campaigns and the structure of the party was focused not on young people in those days. And I remember Reagan was my first president. I was 18 that year that I voted for. And nobody really was targeting me from a messaging perspective. I just was a patriotic kid that grew up in an Air Force family, and I could see his message for what it was, and thought we needed to get away from the Jimmy Carters of the world. who were destroying the country. And every leftist that has been able to take power has done that in one way or another, except maybe Bill Clinton did not quite go that far from a leftist perspective, but all the rest of them have. And it's taken very strong leadership from people on the conservative side. But now with Trump 2.0, it has been Trump 4.0, 1.0, and 2.0 really were the young men and women that Charlie Kirk's movement had convinced that it's time to get active in politics and religion.
Yeah, I think the difference is, and I think you'll remember this. First of all, I'm a military kid too, so totally remember how it was. You know, my parents were not big Carter fans at all. Even though Jimmy Carter was, I think he went to the Naval Academy, that didn't help him with my Navy dad. Anyway, but I think the difference is, like, when we were in school, we did have a thing called Young Life, which was very Christian based, but not politically oriented at all. As a matter of fact, you didn't talk politics at all. And that's where the shift has come in. Now we've gotten to a point where young people and even organizations realize it's not one-sided. We used to try to silo it off, and you just can't do that. And I think that's the beauty of TPUSA is they know that, and they integrate it from the get-go. It's not separate in any way. It's all walking as one on both paths together, just one step at a time.
Yeah, as you have talked to especially young people in your short time out there on the ground, has the subject of faith come up much?
Actually, that's been the biggest thing that I have talked about, to be honest with you. It's not about Charlie. It's not about TPUSA. Honestly, the biggest topic here is, you know, how are you working for God? What can we do to help you? And it's not just me talking to them. It's them talking to me. I have been approached more times today than I could ever tell you about my relationship with Jesus Christ, which is weird, not in a bad way. Don't get me wrong. But I live in the Bible Belt. You'd think you'd hear that every day at Walmart or wherever. No, I've never heard such enthusiasm. And you can tell that the diversity in the people that are asking the question is even different. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely makes sense. That's why I'm smiling, because it does what Charlie was effective at doing. It puts Jesus Christ first and foremost, and then everything flows out of that. You know, Andrew Breitbart used to say that politics is downstream from culture. Well, culture is downstream from your faith. And when you're talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ, that affects the culture, and the culture is going to start focusing on that, and then focus on the politics, but not ignore the politics. That's something that I grew up with too. You know, the preacher's not talking about politics at all. I've struggled with that in my political campaigns, getting folks to talk to their congregations about what it means to stay home on election day. We'll talk about the 2026 election here in the next segment, Margot, and what you think you'll hear from the Steve Bannons of the world and those kind of folks at AMFIS. But it's critically important that we come at this survival of American society from where we started, which was a Christian-based society. That's what the reason why people came here from Europe originally was, because they were fleeing religious persecution and they were Christian. It didn't matter whether they were Puritans or Baptists or Catholics. They set up and established a Christian-based society, and all the governments that were here in the beginning had a Christian aspect to them. As a matter of fact, the state constitutions that were in existence when the U.S. Constitution was ratified all had state-sponsored churches as part of their constitutions. And most Americans don't realize that, because we fell off of that with the whole late 20th century and early 21st century move to separate completely church and state, when that's never been the object. The object's always been to have a Christian society that can govern itself in freedom. And I think we're going back to that, because we see now the dangers of not doing that. It's all around us. Well, we got to take another break. When we come back, we'll see a little clip from Bannon from last year's AmFest we'll talk with Margot about what she's hearing about the election cycle coming up in 2026. There's been a lot of discussion so far, just in the last 2 months, about what's going to happen. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
The whole first term in 16, every day, Trump's a racist, Trump's a fascist, these are terrible people. Then they steal the 2020 election. Did you give up? Did you go back and cry? Did you turn the fetal position and suck your thumb? Hell no, you didn't. You know who's doing it. All we hear in the mainstream media is how they have to have quiet time, and they got psychologists over at the State Department patting them on the head. They're too tired. There's no resistance because they can't take it anymore.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. That was a very short clip of Steve Bannon from December of 2024 on the AmFest stage. Just talking a little bit about what we've been experiencing in this society from a political perspective and a government perspective. And it's a longer clip, but I had to cut it off because he drops a really strong word in the second after the end of that clip. But I think you get the point. We're not going to back down. We never back down. We put a president back in office after a gap in his 2 terms that only happened one time before in this nation's history, and it's amazing that it was able to happen in the 21st century because everything was working against it. The government was working against us. The media was working against us. Our allies, governments, and intelligence agencies were working against us. People in the political parties breaking laws to work against us. And yes, I'm talking about the Republican Party too, because there are Republicans that don't want an America first, then make America great again, society to be resurrected in this country so that this nation as a republic, the republic that was founded by the founders, we're celebrating here this coming year in their 250th anniversary of the signing of that, writing and signing of that Declaration of Independence. They don't want that America to come back to life in a way that we intend for it to come back to life. And that's why they're fighting so hard. And the deck is stacked against us, but we are not going to curl up in a ball and suck our thumbs. We are going to keep charging and keep getting up on the ramparts, as Bannon likes to say, and we are going to kick their butts here in 2026, just like we have done before. My guest today is Margot from Western North Carolina. She's on the ground at AmFest and has been talking to folks. Margot, have you had any discussions about the 2026 congressional midterm elections yet?
Well, just a few, and only because I ran into some folks from North Carolina, and we had another announcement for a Senate race today. So that came up. But what I'm seeing on the ground is people are very interested in how to get involved. And that's unusual, but they are doing a great job here using TPUSA Action, which is a form or a break-off of TPUSA that is geared specifically for elections. And that particular booth, that is one of the booths, I would say, aside from the signups, that had the most people at it, because they're teaching them how to use the same app that Scott Pressler uses, how to engage people. So that, I think, was big news here. Biggest booth I've seen here besides the TPUSA sign up to have your college campus in it.
Yeah, Turning Point Action is the political action committee side of Turning Point USA. And that's where, if you want to give money to the political effort, folks, and make donations, you can donate to Turning Point Action. You can donate to either one. One's a nonprofit, and the other one's a nonprofit, but a political action committee. And so there's differences in taxes and those kind of things. But that's where their effort goes through. And I heard that Tyler Bauer made an announcement last week that they're going to primary every one of the Republican state legislators in Indiana that prevented the new redistricting maps from being passed last week. And so that's significant, because before they wouldn't have been that open about that. You know what I mean? But that tells me they probably got a lot of resources.
They didn't just say they're going to primary him. He literally put the announcement for, if you want to apply for the job to be in that particular district, to go after him. Those job postings went up last week. So they're serious, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I love it too. I think it's fantastic. What are your folks from North Carolina talking about when it comes to the 2026 election?
Well, listen, at every level, from the local level to the congressional level to the senatorial level, we're seeing people jump in the race last minute because that'll force a runoff. So today we had an announcement for a third-party candidate on the Republican side that's going to force us into a runoff for sure. And that's going to really we'll see if Michael Whatley can make it work. And then on the congressional level, I think yesterday, Lori Buckout, who is a retired colonel from the Army, announced that she is re-entering the race in NC1 against Don Davis, who's a moderate Democrat, and we have literally redistricted our whole state to get him out. And it's a R1, so it's very, very close. And there's 5 people or 4 people in the race, and Trump will be here tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about who he's endorsing. It would not surprise me at all if he endorses Lori Buckout and also talks about Michael Whatley, which, if I had one race to tell you is just a disappointment for us, Colonel Maness, it would be the senatorial race, because Michael Whatley is not well known here. He's known in the NCGOP ranks, but as a whole, he's not well known. He's not a household name, and there's no way he's going to beat Roy Cooper, who's never lost a race and been a 2-time governor. And I'm not putting him down. I just really wish that we would have done something to help us win, instead of end up with a Democrat congressman, a senator, and a Democrat in the governor's mansion, and we lost the Council of State more to Democrats. So it's concerning here. It's very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, this is for Tillis's seat, right?
Correct, and I'm so glad he's gone.
Yeah. But so who's the third guy?
The third person, there's Don Brown, and then today Michelle Morrow, who ran for North Carolina Public School Superintendent of Public Instruction. She put her hat in the ring, which we're 60 days away from the primary. Like we North Carolina, Texas, and Arkansas are the first to go in March 3rd, and you put your name in that 60 days before, which is really, you can tell the strategy is to force them into a runoff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Whatley, I mean, I've heard his message in person in the last 3 months. He seems like he's got a good message, and he's raising money. You don't think he can raise enough funds to overcome the lack of name ID?
I don't think the money's the issue. I think the challenge is what the press is saying here, and even Republicans are saying, what's your platform? You can't run on Donald Trump endorsement. That can't be your platform. And we listen, he was one of the folks that was put in charge of helping Western North Carolina. We really very rarely saw him up here. And so, listen, I don't like being critical of him, although everybody knows I'm not a fan. I don't like that. It's not something I enjoy. But if you're going to run for Senate, get out there and be on fire. Don't be saying I'm the guy because Trump endorsed me. Yeah. I mean, it's North Carolina's really sticky here in the last few cycles, and you really have to
have the right individual with the right message with the right amount of dollars. You mentioned Lori Buckout. I've had her on my show before. She went into the administration, if I remember correctly. So she's left the administration and is running for Congress, huh?
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up, because she did leave, and her announcement was she was sick and she had to leave, or she was leaving because she was stepping down because she was sick, which is it's going to be another controversial topic about her, because she said that and now she's running again. And listen, I don't dislike Lori Buckout. I do not, although people think I do. I just wish she would be more honest in her messaging.
Well, she won the primary last time and went up against the same guy. How did that race turn out?
I think it was very close. It was very close. Like, we're talking, I think 6,000, less than 10,000 votes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
She has a good chance. She's just going to have to hone in her messaging and really talk about substantive issues. Nobody cares that you're not from North Carolina anymore. We beat that into the ground. You need to walk in there and say, I am now, and I believe this is what we need.
Yeah, especially having seen the administration from the inside. So she knows, I know she knows, because she's a retired military, how difficult dealing with the Pentagon is for the America First appointees, and what probably has some ideas on what kind of changes can and should be made to things like civil service law, the defense budget, and those kind of things to find more cuts, quite frankly, that don't hurt our mission, but get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse. So I'm looking forward to hearing her messaging from an America First perspective.
Colonel Maness, I'm going to tell you something. She could win on one issue. Here in North Carolina, the North Carolina General Assembly was dumb enough to try to take the shrimpers down and really take away their access to shrimp. And if she were to say, I'm going to sponsor a federal legislation that no longer allows that, she would win hands down. No question.
What'd they do? Pass legislation allowing all the foreign shrimp to come in?
No, they tried to pass legislation that would not allow shrimpers closer into the shore. And that's really where the best shrimp are. And it caused what we call Shrimpgate in North Carolina, because people from all over the state went to the Capitol and said, you do this and we're going to nuke you. So if she were to take up and sponsor something federal along that lines and just push the issue, she'd win. No, hands down, she'd win. Yeah,
it's interesting. Hopefully she'll hear this. Or somebody on her team will hear that, because we need some wins. I make no bones about it. I'm backing the Republican challenger to the incumbent in North Carolina 11. Adam Smith is my guy, because that incumbent really didn't do much in the response to Hurricane Elena.
So you don't have to tell me twice. Adam Smith is in my district. I live in that district. Chuck Edwards has a 60% conservative voting record. Adam Smith was instrumental in bringing and showing how you can bring military retirees and former active duty service members together to really make a difference. And that's so igniting and so exciting to see that he did what even FEMA couldn't do. So, I'm backing Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a retired or former Army Special Forces guy, Green Beret, and he was the first Green Beret that we endorsed out of my pack, Gator Pack, this year, and we're looking at another one. I'll just say it. I won't say his name yet, but we're looking at another one down here in the South that's a really good guy, and I think they might even know each other, so I'm excited about that. We're also looking at how do we approach the 2026 elections in the swing districts? And that, I think, is going to be instrumental on whether the Republicans can hold the majority in the House and the Senate, quite frankly, because we got to look closely at that. The polling is not looking real good right now. And it's not that it's a Donald Trump issue, because his poll numbers are actually coming back up. He kind of had a little dip there. But the Republicans, the GOP poll numbers are really in the tank now. So we've got a lot of work to do on that. But as I have said, Steve Bannon has said, you say all the time, there is a path. We just have to get on it. We got to take another break, Margot. We got to take our last break. When we come back, we will talk about the movement, the future of the movement itself, and how it all comes together. We'll be right back with Margot from Western North Carolina.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
But young men are the most conservative they have been in over 50 years. 50 years. Think about that. Now, a reporter asked me, they said, Charlie, can you try to explain this phenomenon? I said, yeah, it's very simple. Young men want to be part of a political movement that doesn't hate them. In fact, let me go a step further, that thinks they're essential to a future of a country. That we need strong men and strong women. That we're sick and tired of hearing about toxic masculinity when we are drowning in toxic femininity.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show, and we're talking about AmFest 2025 today. Our guest is on the ground there, Margot from Western North Carolina. And Margot, I had to play that clip because it's in the news that white men especially have been being specifically discriminated against in the hiring processes across the board for over 2 decades, apparently. There's a big article out about it confirming that what we already knew was going on. But one of the things that I like about Charlie, and the thing he said often was when he was asked for advice, he said, look, fall in love, have more babies than you can afford, and practice your faith. I mean, that's where he was coming from all this time. And this movement is the young men and women that have joined this movement have been from all walks of life. I mean, you have some very liberal people that were very liberal people that have joined this movement. I mean, Matt Van Swal from North Carolina, Western North Carolina there, who I'm planning on having on the show in the new year, and I think he's there on the ground with you guys. Hopefully you guys will be able to link up. But he was a liberal, and he has joined this movement. Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically about the Turning Point USA movement, but definitely about the movement that we have all supported through the Turning Point USA movement, through the Bannon War Room movement, through Gator Pack, and instruments like that, through Cliff Maloney's organization, Citizens Alliance of Pennsylvania Chase. All of those, we have supported this movement to bring young people back from the brink of destruction in society, because the other side doesn't want to have babies, doesn't think you need to get married, which are all things that are oppositional to especially the mental and physical health of human beings. I think it's fantastic how it's all coming together.
Well, you know what's weird, Colonel Maness, is like you and I, we grew up in a generation where nobody would ever question that. Go have some kids and, get a job and make it work, right? That's just the way it was. And you kind of have to look and go, what happened that my daughter's generation and your son's generation changed all that? You know what I mean? And so it's to me, it's refreshing because it's upward, but it's onward, upward, but it's also backward. Do you know what I mean? It's a backward feeling that's nostalgic to me. and means something because it worked.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not wrong to want to look backward and save the things and use the things that work. I mean, that's what Christianity is all about. You know, Christianity.
That's right.
Christianity. You know, I when I grew up, there was at a time when I was being taught by some folks in the Southern Baptist area that, hey, you know, the Old Testament's not that important. But you know what? As I've grown and become older, I've gotten a lot more wisdom, and I married a lady who kicked me in the butt and said, "What are you talking about?" when I brought it up, and I made myself go back and look to correct my thinking on that, and that's what I think Charlie the movement is being successful at, even without him being here alive with us today. Even if you've never even seen a video, if you've just heard that that piece of advice about falling in love and have more children than you can afford and practice your faith in truth and openly with your as a husband or a mom or a son or daughter, if you follow those ideas, then you find yourself looking for the tools that have been successful in society, and then take it one step further. That's why I think it's very important for us to celebrate aggressively the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, because when you look, if we don't look back and preserve those ideas and tools that and bring them back to activity that we've let go dormant because of skewed beliefs or off-center beliefs, like I was just talking about with the Holy Bible and the Old Testament, then we set ourselves up to risk more fracturing in our society, not enough kids being born. And as Elon Musk says quite often, we are not having enough children. Our birth rate is not high enough to maintain our society. And that doesn't have anything to do with race. It has everything to do with just birth rate. And he's right.
Well, and I want to add one more thing to that. Think about this. If we're going kind of in a backwards review of let's have more children, let's, don't worry about the cost, because nobody did back in the day, right? You just had kids and figured it out.
Yeah.
But it also creates a tie back to your grandparents and to your parents, because you look back at people who were successful at doing that and you admire them instead of what the left does, which is say things like, you don't need your parents, cut them off. They're trauma. So it's a bigger binder to family-oriented things than people realize.
Yeah, and I think it would be very, very helpful, and we would achieve success to save parts of our society, like the Black American family, if we resurrect that idea and talk to folks like Charlie did in a respectful and kind way about the history. He's on the record. He gets accused of being a racist, but he's on the record saying that the Civil Rights Act and the Great Society destroyed the black family starting in the 1960s, and the black family was 75% two-parent household families, and regardless of the segregation laws and laws working against them, they were prosperous because of that. And we didn't have the crime rates, and we didn't have incarceration rates that you see now. And he gets accused of being a racist for saying that, when he's really just saying the truth, and he's looking back at what was working and seeing what changed to see if we can figure out a way to help fix that. I mean, that's what you do in public policy and in a society where you care about your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, they also don't like to mention there were a ton of black Republicans in our Congress in those past periods. So it's an interesting, dilemma. I do want to get back to one thing. We're headed into Christmas. And I would just say, this nation needs a lot of prayer. And there are a lot of people out there that could use your help. And I think that, if you really want to be motivated, one of the things you can do is watch this particular TPUSA, which will be on their YouTube live as it happens, and try to find a place where you can fit in the holiday season and going forward to do better for yourself and your family and whatever the people around you, anything you can do. And if I can help you find it, if you see something and you want more information, get a hold of me. I'm happy to help you find those groups that they talk about while we're here to make sure you get a connection. I'll try to make sure that happens. But I'm really concerned that this, next year, we see a lot of people that really are negative. They don't want to see the good side of everything. Like I just heard people talking negative about Dan Bongino leaving. I'm sorry, but Dan Bongino fought cancer and won. His wife has just had an accident. He's got young kids. I mean, maybe he just woke up one day and said, look, my life needs to really be focused on my family. What a great thing. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, and that position he was in is one of the most difficult positions. Look, I've been a deputy in a major organization, and it's the hardest job because you have a lot to navigate in that. I'm proud of his service. I'm glad he was able to do it, and glad that he's leaving on solid terms. If you look and see what Cash and the president have said, that's what really matters. Would I like to see more? Absolutely. Well, we got a question from the audience. Let me take that before we get to the end of the show real quick, Margot. Go ahead, Shel.
Go ahead, Zach.
Yes. How is the feel at Amfest? That family friendly type stuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
He asked, how is the feel at Amfest from a family friendly perspective this year?
So listen, I don't see just single people together. It's very family oriented. I see moms and dads who flew out here from Raleigh, moms and dads who came and brought their young kids from Japan. I mean, it's really family oriented. I don't think anybody here, there's a lot of young people that came from college because they just finished their semester, and that's normal. But I've also seen a lot of people who prioritize this as the one family vacation to bring their family together and be present in the moment. And listen, I think it's a big deal that your family would spend $3,000, that's $1,000 a piece, on VIP passes for you, your mom, and your dad to come sit in one of these. So that's not a cheap proposition, but it's it's a meaningful proposition, and it means that they care about their kids enough they want them here together.
Yeah, it sure is. And just before Christmas time, that makes it even more important. And you mentioned Christmas, and I just want to take the last 3 minutes or so to talk about Greg Biffle. Sadly, he and his family were killed in an aircraft crash. I think it was in North Carolina where the crash was. And tell folks what Greg did, especially during the Helena response, because I think he did a lot of good.
You're going to make me cry because I just talked to him last week, and I really was so shocked to find out this morning that he and his wife and their children and their dogs were on a plane leaving outside of Statesville, North Carolina, on the way to the Bahamas to drop off toys and presents for kids who were needy, and their plane crashed. And the only thing we don't know is he has another daughter that was outside from a previous marriage, and I don't know if she was on that plane or not. But we lost a hero. I mean, he's a flat-out hero. I spoke to him last week. We were talking to him about moving forward in political arenas because he's done so much for Western North Carolina. He had a helicopter which he brought up here without hesitation, never asked for a dime. Begged, us to give him more work to do, dropped off Starlinks, dropped off drugs for elderly people on the top of the mountain, did whatever we asked. And it is a true loss for both NASCAR, but most especially for America. I mean, it really, in North Carolina, he's just a good person.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we live in a world where this kind of stuff happens, Margot, and I'm with you. I mean, you almost made me tear up there for a second. But it's up to us to pick up the flag, and that's why I'm backing Adam Smith in North Carolina 11, by the way, just to pitch that one more time. And if you want to help GatorPack help him, you can go to GatorPack.com, everything. And Margot, thank you so much for doing this show with us today. It's a little bit unusual for me because I don't normally get the opportunity to have somebody at a location that I want to cover that's this important, and I really appreciate you being willing to do it.
Listen, I just want to wish you and your family a very happy holiday. I know you've had some heart setbacks in your personal life with family, death in your family. And I hope that 2026 is bright for both you and your wives and your children. And thank you for all you do, Colonel Maness. You make a difference, and you show everybody that it's important to be a good American.
Well, thank you, Margot. God bless you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Pray for the Biffle family and pray for all of us in our country, and pray for our friend Scott Adams. Scott Adams has been the internet dad to a lot of these young men. God bless you all. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.